Yeah, no problem. I'm in the process of trying to. I know of a couple gay lesbian people that might be interested in attending, and I'd love to get one of them to perhaps speak and say a few words and kind of represent the town. Still trying to finalize who that might be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to finalize, try to get someone nailed down for that today. Yeah. Well, I think the major concern is that there's a lot of either misunderstanding or just outright lack of knowledge. And perhaps even worse, there's a lot of old myths based on 1970s mentality that trans people are either mentally ill people or they're sexual fetishists. And because of these old stigma, people have been very reluctant to treat us with dignity as human beings, to take us seriously. Because of that, people are afraid to hire us. They're afraid to let us rent their apartments. They're even afraid to let us into their social circles. And I guess the major milestone that I guess has kind of jolted my interest in doing some outreach work now has been this announcement about the Human Rights Act and the fact that our province has finally agreed to add gender identity and gender expression as new explicit grounds for human rights protection. That happened last Tuesday. Darren King, the Minister of Justice, got up in the House and made some sort of a statement promising that he would table a bill during this session. Yeah, and the fact that it's the government that's proposing this and not the opposition is a sign that it's a formality and it's a bill that's going to pass. I'd like to hope so. And so I'm trying to capitalize on the fact that getting people to pay attention to trans issues is so tough because there's so much going on in the world around us, and sometimes you got to parlay an opportunity. There was another story that broke here in St. John's, coincidentally on the very same day. A trans man by the name of Christopher Higdon went to the media announcing a fundraising venture to pay for trans surgeries that MCP will not cover. And that got him some attention on radio and television, and it even landed me a spot on radio to discuss Christopher's situation. So I guess the next step for me is going province-wide. I get emails all the time from people all over the province who are terrified to death that, Jennifer, I think I'm trans. I don't even know if there's any out gay lesbians in my town, let alone trans people. I'm completely concerned about coming out and starting this. I'm worried I'll lose my job, I'll lose my friends, I'll lose my family. I'm worried about violence, and I think it's important to, I guess, just have someone like myself, who's, I guess, he's not necessarily the most successful trans person in the world, but the fact that I've gone through the process, I've been able to, I guess, demonstrate my ability to function in society and take on the role of regular, everyday person. I think that's really what people need to see. They need to see that trans people are just like everybody else. We have jobs, we have pets, we have hobbies, we like music, we like sports, and just by having myself and a few others from St. John's make appearances in these other towns, that perhaps it might draw out some interest. I mean, the other kind of critical factor was this article in that newspaper out in Springdale. The the pastor that wrote some comments, kind of saying trans people don't really exist and we're defying God's orders and all this type of stuff. So yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, if there is a cross-dressing entity out there or a community, they're probably feeling just as much heat and concern, and I want to reach out to those folks and say, I realize you're in a small town and you've got a lot of people that don't understand you, and plus it's in the theme of Trans Day of Remembrance, we're ultimately memorializing victims of violence, and I think it's important to be able to stand up and say, we will not be terrorized. I'm Jennifer McCreath, I'm a trans person, I'm not afraid to step foot in your town, and quite frankly, I'm extending my hand in friendship. I hope to meet as many people as I can in that town. I'm hoping to meet the mayor. I'm hoping to meet the guidance counselor at the high school who's emailed me. And if this pastor is comfortable coming out to say hello, I'd love to have a chat with that person as well. And yeah. Yeah, and I think the critical issue is the fact that being gay or lesbian, the one thing that makes you different from everyone else is who you're attracted to and what same-sex attraction versus opposite-sex attraction. Other than public display of affections, it's really not something that directly affects people in their everyday life. Gay and lesbians can go into the office and do their job. They don't even have to tell people they're gay or lesbian. Whereas trans people can't stay closeted. You go through this transition process and the whole world sees you evolve from one sex to the other through the various changes of appearance, the hormones that we take. It takes a long time for that change to develop, and you literally going through, every time you walk out that door, you're outing yourself, and unless you're able to find a way to be 100% passable in your new role. And I think also from a societal perspective, there's more issues with regards to accommodation. Gay and lesbian people don't have to worry about changing their ID or having the wrong sex or gender marker on their ID, so every time a trans person has to show ID, there could be concerns there. There's also the added challenge of having to undertake healthcare products and services, as far as finding doctors who are willing to assess and recommend hormone treatments, assess and recommend surgeries. And the million-dollar question seems to be, well, which doctors are capable of doing this and which ones aren't? And can doctors here in Newfoundland take that on, or do we need to be shipping people off to Toronto? And that's been part of my fight, is to say, look, I've got a great team of doctors here. They've picked up the documents by global standards. World Professional Association for Transgender Health has trained a lot of our doctors here in Newfoundland, and there's no reason to be denying MCP funding based on, I guess, fear that our doctors aren't able to make appropriate recommendations. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, the theories that are kind of cutting edge and that are out there suggest that this is a physiological birth defect in which the body develops with the opposite sex than what the brain tells it to develop as in the early stages of, I guess, the pregnancy, shall we say. And so in my case, we've got a female brain that's for some reason born with male parts. And it's inconclusive as to whether or not there's any way to test this. So when someone is born, you can determine right away whether or not this is the case. And the challenge is this is something people have to figure out on their own as they go through life and life experiences. And almost by default, when a baby is born male, we raise it in the gender role of boy. And it's up to that individual to grow up and, I guess, learn to either feel comfortable with that or recognize warning signs that, you know what, I think there's a mistake here. I think I should have been born female. And I guess the other challenging situation is the complexities between what I call the dichotomy of sex and gender. And the trans community is very confusing, as there are several folks who see it more of a gender situation, where others see it as a sex situation. That's why some trans people feel they need surgical changes done to make themselves complete and corrected, where others are quite happy to just make more superficial changes and not change their actual genitals. I guess the textbook answer is that most trans people become aware of this as early as 8 years old. In my case, when I was 8 years old, I started to, I guess, notice some signs and question some things, but it took me a lot longer to kind of figure out exactly, well, what is different about me, and how can we fix this problem. And in my case, it wasn't until I was 33 years old that I finally kind of hit the nail on the head, realized, okay, and it's great to have, I didn't grow up in the internet age, so it's tougher to, I guess, Google symptoms. And whenever someone's got an issue now, you Google it to try to figure out what's wrong with you, and before you can go see doctors. And it didn't take me long to learn what transsexualism was, and the difference between transsexual and transgender and gay and lesbian. And didn't take, once I've kind of figured it out, and it's like, I'm a textbook case. I have to go through this transition process now, because I'm literally, and I guess the best way to say it is, female trapped in a male body. Yeah, well, I think it's important, I guess, in two ways. One, I want everybody else out there who's not trans to realize there are trans people here in the province. There are trans people that live in little towns, even if they don't want to put their hand up and be seen and go on television. It's not just something you see on television. We are 1 in every 100. There's some statistical reports that have been done to say at least 1 in 100 people have some sort of gender variance. And I think it's also important that people in these towns meet someone who's gone through this process and hopefully my goal will be to leave a good impression on these people. Part of it's, I figure, the best way to make life easier for me is to make life better for all trans people. And I mean, I think part of it's also raising awareness of the challenges we still face, and telling the story of whether it's my story or someone else about losing a job or losing a house or being shunned by a certain group of social people, or facing violence, sexual violence, physical violence, and just humanize this. And I mean, the Trans Day of Remembrance event in itself is a very sad, somber situation. I'll be reading out a list of known trans murder victims, how they were killed, and any other information. And just so we can realize, look, there's a lot of hatred and disrespect. People are literally killing other human beings for phobic reasons. There's absolutely no reason to be killing these people. And to demonstrate that, look, you give us a chance to fit into your society, we can do some great things. We can contribute a lot to our society. And I think a lot of trans people are so busy just trying to survive that they don't have the resources to kind of reach out and be a community leader. And in my case, I've been fortunate enough to, I guess, integrate myself into a variety of areas. I've become a marathon runner, and I've run the Boston Marathon twice. I threw my name into politics and ran a very good fight for a seat on St. John's City Council, even in a losing effort. And I've gotten involved with the animal rights community and have gained a lot of love and respect from those people. And I'm also, interestingly enough, I would throw the tourist angle at this. I've lived in Newfoundland now for 6.5 years. There's a lot of this province I have not seen yet, and it's part of my goal is to just get out there and see more of it and meet people. I've got an eye perhaps on another political run in the future at the provincial level. So I think it's important for me to learn and see more of the province, and important for folks all around the province to get a look at me and get to know me a little bit. I still don't have that totally confirmed yet. I'm sort of doing it under the banner of a grassroots, non-sanctioned nonprofit organization called NPATH, npath.net, Newfoundland Patient Association for Transsexual Health. It's a movement I've been trying to get off the ground to allow patients to lobby healthcare professionals and health policymakers to take steps to bring trans health in this province up to global standards. Because right now, the politicians are talking to the politicians, the doctors are talking to the doctors. We need to get all three people to the table, and we need to start engaging the world leaders on this, and getting trans people to come together and say there's more than just Jennifer. There's this person, there's that person, there's maybe 200 or 300 of us that are looking for this health care, and we need this health care to function and have a meaningful, successful, normal life, shall we say. And at the same time, it's not necessarily going to break the bank. Sure, go for it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because Yeah. So I've been told there are trans people there. Yeah. Yeah, and for sure, and that's part of what I'm doing is demonstrate, look, if you don't have to hide. Um, there's several of us in St. John's, and I guess another aside is there seems to be significant friction between, I guess, the trans women community and I guess the gay lesbian community here in St. John's. They seem to be a lot more interested in accepting trans men than trans women, and most trans women that I know here don't want to have anything to do with the so-called LGBT community. So I'm like, okay, if the folks here aren't going to get along with us, I'll go and meet other people in other cities and towns. I've had gay and lesbians across the province say, Jen, I'd really love to meet you someday. So if there's an opportunity here to drop into these towns and give it a go. And hopefully that'll maybe I'll dig the hole, and then maybe this will make other trans people more comfortable to come out, start groups, and start poking around on Facebook and tweeting and all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll see if I can get you some other names as soon as I can confirm them. Oh, okay. They have one that's like 4 years old that they keep using. Yeah, I will, what's your email address there? Okay. Yeah, alright, no. No. I got a few done during my campaign, so I'll send you a few of those. Yeah. Alrighty. You're welcome. Good stuff. Yeah. Sure. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Just don't call me a transgender. It's more, it's a, it's I guess an adjective, I guess. Is that the right term? Transgendered person? That's, yeah, that's kind of the way I would approach that. Or trans woman, transitioned, or other ways to look at that. That's a whole other debate. Does the transition ever end, or do you transition for all your life? I'm not trans anymore, I'm transitioned. Alright. Well, glad to do it. Thank you for helping raise awareness. I haven't heard back. I'm gonna get on the phone and call up City Hall there, see if anyone read my email yet. Alrighty. Take care, my dear. Bye. That was Andrea Gunn, the Advertiser Newspaper in Grand Falls, Windsor, Newfoundland, Labrador, home of the infamous Salmon Fest concert every year, home of a Transgender Day of Remembrance event, November 19th, 2013, City Hall, 9:30 p.m., hosted by Newfoundland Patient Association for Transsexual Health, featuring one Jennifer McCreath. Thanks for watching.